What's up, college football fans? Welcome to another QB Spotlight video, podcast, episode, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Thank you if this is your first time. This is a place where we talk about quarterbacks from the group of five level. What's up, college football fans? Welcome to another QB Spotlight video, podcast, episode. However you are watching it, thank you for tuning in. And today we got an episode just talking about group of five quarterbacks. So if you just like Power 5 quarterbacks or just like film breakdowns, I would still encourage you to stick around and learn about some of these underrated quarterbacks. If this is your first time tuning in and listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube channel, we thank you for coming in. This is a place where we talk about quarterbacks each week. We do film breakdowns, we do quarterback interviews, we do interviews with coaches. It's just a big quarterback hub. And today we're going to be talking about the group of five quarterbacks. I got five quarterbacks I want to talk about who I think are the top five quarterbacks in the group of five right now, at least returning starting quarterbacks in the group of five. And by the time you watch this video, with the transfer portal window just opening up, maybe this changes. I don't know. But as of right now, the best returning starters in the group of five are these five guys that I'm going to talk about. And again, like I said, if you don't watch much group of five football, but you're a football junkie or college football junkie or quarterback junkie, still tune in because we're going to be going over these five quarterbacks who I think are really good quarterbacks. And each of these guys could be starting at a Power 5 school if, the situation presented itself or if they chose to do that. And with that said, I just want to encourage you all to consider subscribing, liking this video, all that fun stuff. It helps the channel. But I think anyone that keeps up with college football, and especially the quarterback position, the first person on this list is not going to come as a surprise, and that's Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina. And he's the one guy on this list who has put up bonker numbers from the beginning, right? He's put up crazy TD to interception ratio numbers. He's put up huge passing numbers and running numbers, right? He's just a guy that's done it all. And there's a reason why he was so talked about, and there was so much coverage about him whenever he entered the transfer portal, either at the end of 2022 or the beginning of 2023, but he ended up taking his name out of the portal. I think he's the number one group of five quarterback that is returning as a starter right now, from the simple fact that he's done it year in and year out for the past 3 years. And I hear people talk about, he's a product of the system and this isn't that. Well, who the hell cares, right? Most good quarterbacks are a product of the system, so I'm okay with that. If you stay within the system that works for you, you're probably going to be a pretty good quarterback. So Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina, and I don't know if he's going to be entering the transfer portal or not. He entered previously and then pulled his name out. Don't know what's coming up. There's several big programs that could definitely use him and definitely want him, but that doesn't mean that he wants to necessarily go. But I think as of now, he's the number one quarterback in the group of five, at least returning starters. These next guys that I want to talk about, this is not really a particular order besides McCall. I'd probably put McCall number one, and the rest of these guys you could argue 2 through 5, right? But the interesting note or the interesting factor about these next four guys coming up is they were all given time to develop. They didn't just kind of blast off year one of starting, which I appreciate in today's day and age, right? They were allowed to develop, and you can see each year they got better, and now they are some of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, not just the group of five. So I want to talk about UTSA quarterback Frank Harris. He's number two that we're going to talk about. Again, not necessarily listed number two on a top group of five quarterback list, but he's the number two guy we're going to talk about, the starting quarterback for UTSA, who announced he was coming back, would have received some NFL draft interest if he decided to forego this season and go to the draft. But he's a guy who started off his career kind of up and down, was injured, was known more so to be a running quarterback. There were bigger schools that recruited him from high school to be a defensive back, but he chose UTSA. He chose his the school in his hometown to come to, and he's lit up the scoreboard, put up huge numbers, right? Last year, he put up 1,000 more yards passing than he did in 2021. Each year, he's gotten better and better and better. His completion percentage has gone up. And not only has he, been done damage on the ground, but I think you've been able to see what he can do as a passer. And he's made his receivers better. He's got some really, really good NFL talented quality receivers. But I think the fact that he's throwing the ball, he's putting the ball where it needs to be, and he's given the opportunity to the receivers has helped those receivers develop, right? So I think Frank Harris, if you don't know the name, you definitely should if you've kept up with college football. But if you just keep up with bigger schools, make sure you tune into UTSA this year at some point. I don't know their schedule right off the bat, but if they have a bigger school they're playing, then that's definitely a potential upset because of Frank Harris and the ability he has as a quarterback. Hurt you with his legs, hurt you with his arm, has a great system that he's in. He's put up huge numbers these past few years, and I expect the same this season. Next quarterback I want to talk about is Western Kentucky quarterback Austin Reed. So he's number 3, not on this list, right, but just number 3 in general. Again, I don't want anyone to come at me, but he's number 3 on this list. The Western Kentucky quarterback who used to be at West Florida, which is in Pensacola, I believe, a Division II school, transferred to Western Kentucky, put up bonker numbers, over 4,000 yards passing, 40 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, just huge numbers. And again, he was someone else that I put out a tweet earlier talking about the top quarterbacks in the group of 5 that could start at the Power 5 level. And he was someone that people were saying he's a product of the system, he's overrated. I don't think that's true, and it's okay to be the product of a system. Just continue to put that out there. I think he could start at several Power 5 schools. He was someone who entered the portal at the end of last year and then came back to Western Kentucky. So I assume he's still staying, right? But, there's so many schools like McCall. There's so many schools that would want an established starter that he could definitely start at several Power 5 schools right now. But back to Austin Reed, come back for a second season with Western Kentucky, and he's a guy who I think if he stays at Western Kentucky and puts up huge numbers again, he could be on some draft boards for some NFL teams. Big quarterback, can spin it, good athlete too, and not to mention he beat out Jarrett. Is it Doege, I believe? I might be mispronouncing that last name. But Jarrett Doege, let's just say it's Doege. He was a starting quarterback at West Virginia before he transferred to Western Kentucky, probably assuming he was going to get the job. He's a good quarterback in his own right, but Austin Reed transfers from Division II school and beats out Jarrett Doege, and Doege ends up transferring to Troy. So product of the system, whatever, but he beat out a really talented quarterback who played at the Power 5 level. So that tells me something too, that, hey, he's got some dog in him and he's able to really play some good football, which he showed last year, and I expect another big season for him. Next quarterback, who may be I don't want to say favorite, I don't have favorites, but Michael Pratt from Tulane, someone who I was high on when he came out of high school, out of Boca Raton, Florida, and is now the quarterback at Tulane. This is going to be about his fourth year starter. Yeah, it's going to be his 4th year as the starting quarterback, I believe. And he's someone who has gotten better over time. Like all these quarterbacks on the list, besides, again, McCall, who just kind of came out of the gate swinging, he's gotten better over time, right? Frank Harris got better. Austin Reed started out at D2, went to Division I. He got better. And now Michael Pratt. When he started, he was, again, probably known more for his legs. He's a good athlete. He did some good things, but this past year, he really blew up. The biggest things that come to mind for me with Michael Pratt is, one, his ability to take care of the ball has really improved. He always did a decent job the past few years. His TD to interception ratio is right under 3-1, which isn't bad by any means. I think he had like 20 TDs to 8 picks, and then 21 TDs to 8 picks in 2020 and 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And this past year, he had 27 passing touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. That's a TD to interception ratio better than 5-1. That's a huge improvement. That tells us he's improved, he understands the offense, and he can take care of the football. Not only that, he was pushing the ball downfield a lot more this past year than the 2 previous years. The 2 previous years, his yards per attempt were 7.2, I think, overall, if you combine both those seasons. This past year, I have it written down, let me double check so I don't miss, 8.9 yards per attempt this past year. So not only did his yards per attempt go up, he was taking more shots downfield, but his TD to interception ratio went down. His interceptions went down. So taking more shots downfield, interceptions go down. Usually it's not the case unless you're a quarterback that has been developed and matured like Michael Pratt has. Also, his completion percentage has gone up as well. Each year it's gone up. I think he was up like 6% last year, which is a pretty big difference, right? So completion percentage is up 63 or so from 57. Yards per attempt is up from 7.2 to 8.9. TD to interception ratio is improved from a little under 3.1 or 3-1 to over 5-1 ratio. Fantastic improvement. I think Michael Pratt's another guy who could start at a Power 5 level. There was rumors of him, I know, going to Florida, and other schools were mentioning when the first transfer portal window opened up, but he chose to stay with Tulane. So again, we'll see if that continues to be the case. I have no reason to assume he's leaving, but he's another quarterback who could definitely start at several Power 5 schools. Last quarterback I want to talk about, who I think is a number, or the top 5 quarterback in the group of 5, is South Alabama quarterback Carter Bradley. He's a guy that you probably haven't heard of unless you watch the Sun Belt, unless you just keep up with football. And again, if you don't watch small football or GFI football, watch all these guys and just keep up with it, because there's some really good quarterbacks that aren't on this list that are returning, and some quarterbacks who are going to light it up and come out of nowhere at the group of 5 level and be really good, right? But back to Carter Bradley. He started off at Toledo. Never had a full year starter. Never started a full year at Toledo. Was kind of up and down, right? Did some good things, but just never grasped it completely. Transfers to South Alabama. His first full year starting, 28 TDs, 12 picks. So you want to kind of limit that, but still a TD to interception ratio of, better than 2-to-1, which is fine. And then he has over, I think, 3,300 yards passing, and he was one of the best quarterbacks in the Sun Belt this past year, who had a lot of good quarterbacks, right? Like we mentioned, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, App State, Chase Bryce. They had a lot of good quarterbacks in that conference, and Carter Bradley was right up there. He also had to come in and beat out Desmond Trotter, who was the previous starter, off and on the past few years. So comes in, beats out the potential other starting quarterback, and then puts up really good numbers. I expect another season of improvement. And like the other 3 guys we talked about besides McCall, Bradley improved this year, his first full year starting. So again, Frank Harris, Austin Reed, Michael Pratt, and Carter Bradley were all given time to develop, and now all these schools are reaping the benefits because they're some of the best schools in their respected conferences, and they have really good quarterbacks who have developed over time and had really good seasons last year. Grayson McCall is just the outlier. He hasn't had a bad season. He's just put up huge numbers every year he has started. So again, these are the top 5 quarterbacks in my opinion in the group of 5, and I didn't necessarily talk about them in order as far as how to rank them. I'm not huge on rankings. Again, I think McCall is number 1, and then you can make an argument from probably Harris, Reed, and Pratt being 2 through 4. Then I think Carter Bradley's probably at number 5, right? I think he's probably 5. So in my opinion, you got number 1, you got number 5, 2 through 4. You can make an argument for either guy. So again, we got Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, Frank Harris, UTSA, Austin Reed, Western Kentucky, Michael Pratt from Tulane, and Carter Bradley from South Alabama. But guys, if you're watching this video, I want to hear from you. What guys did I miss? Did I leave off this list? Do you think someone else should be on this list as opposed to these 5 starting quarterbacks? Or what guys do you think are underrated at the group of 5 level that could be a top 5 quarterback at the group of 5 level by the end of the season? We got a lot of new starters coming in. We've had some transfers coming in the group of 5 level. So there's going to be some new faces at the end of the season that could be approaching this, top 5 list, if you will. Also, let me know in the comments below, who do you think, if any of these guys, could potentially transfer? It's what's the date? You got April 19th right now, so we got 11 days until the transfer window closes. Excuse me, been talking a lot. Let me get a quick sip of water. All right, but we got 11 days till the transfer portal window closes. So even though several of these guys have been in the portal and then pulled the name out, I still think it wouldn't surprise me to see maybe them jump back in. I know they probably have some NIL deals. Maybe it doesn't make sense to. I'm not even saying they should, but it just wouldn't surprise me if one of these guys potentially is getting poached and wants to see what else is out there. But again, a lot of good quarterbacks on this list. Regardless if they stay at their school or transfer, you need to make time to watch them every Saturday during college football season, because they're fun to watch, and several of these guys could be playing on Sunday. So again, let me hear from you. Let me know in the comments below or at the podcast if you want to write a review, which I think you can do. I'm not super smart with the media stuff, but write a review and let me know your thoughts, or just holler at us at Twitter at QB Spotlight. We're always there putting out quarterback content. So again, we're going to do some G5 updates every week is the plan, to have at least one episode talking about the group of 5 quarterbacks. Maybe not during the summer when it's slow, but definitely once the season starts. And if you follow us on Twitter, we'll be putting out constant group of 5 quarterback content each week, even through the offseason. So again, comment, like the video if you like the video, subscribe. It does help us grow and just kind of help us keep chugging along. We'll put out some good content. Let us know what you want to see next as well. Comment, like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.